Welcome back, my loves. Hope you've had an amazing week. Last week's episode was so incredible with one of my amazing community members, Jaguar. And I'm very excited to change gears this week and to get to bring on a guest. And we are going to be talking about something that honestly, I haven't mentioned much on the podcast before. I don't think I've really talked about it. Anybody who's done a 90-minute with me may have, I may have mentioned it there, especially when I'm encouraging clients to explore, figure out more about themselves. But that topic would be human design. And as I was thinking over connection, because as you guys know, I mentioned in the podcast at the beginning of April, for April and May, we are diving into the first acronym of my core framework, which is connection. And for me personally, which we'll share in this episode, I had the first time I was introduced to human design, this really big opening and kind of awakening to this other side of myself that I'm very excited to share with you all. And thanks to getting to be an author in the amazing Handbook for Human Potential, I've talked about that before on the podcast as well. I have been introduced to all of these incredible co-authors in that book with me, and Deanna Elizabeth is one of them. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a drop in with her before I bring her all the way in, just to kind of give you some backstory on her. And I'm going to read it from her chapter in the book because I loved this piece about her. So Deanna Elizabeth was born and raised in the Sierras of northern Peru. From a young age, she sensed that life carried deeper truths, ones that couldn't be explained by logic alone, but could be felt, known, and remembered. Though she followed a traditional path and earned a degree in business management, her deeper calling never left her. When Deanna discovered human design in 2015, it wasn't just a system. It was a remembering. It gave form to what she had always known and named truths she had long lived. It didn't show her something new. It confirmed what she had always lived within her with a precision that felt like coming home. And soon after, she began guiding others to do the same. She went on to complete 4 years of professional training to become a certified human design analyst, followed by advanced specialization in life cycles and relationships. And her work now blends intuitive depth, practical insight, and lived experience, specifically meeting each person she works with where they are and pointing them back to who they've always been. Today, she guides individuals, couples, families, and business leaders to understand the unique design they were born with, not just for insight, but for transformation. Her work is an invitation to return to inner authority, to raise empowered children, and to build aligned teams that thrive beyond conventional models. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Welcome to the podcast, Deanna. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Brita. It's a joy to be here sharing this system that has completely shifted my life and that I'm super happy to share with you all today.
Yeah. When I got to be in this, got to be an author in the Handbook for Human Potential and started looking at the other amazing people that were in it with me, and I saw that you did human design, I was giddy with excitement because I've known for a while, just it's fascinated me since I first learned about it. I've learned a lot about myself through it, but I've never known anybody that I was yeah, I want to reach out to them. I want to have them come on. I want to have them talk about it. And not only have them talk about it, but super exciting. You're going to be doing a workshop for us this upcoming Sunday, May 24th as well. So it was such a gift to be connected in this way. And I wanted to kick us off because here we are, you and I are already geeking out a little bit energetically about like, we're going to talk about human design. But I have a sneaking suspicion that a lot of my listeners might be like, human design. I don't even know what this is. So I wanted to read a brief section from your chapter, which I just have to say, if you get through this episode with us and you are like, whoa, human design, this is kind of speaking to me, there's an energy here for me, I highly want to recommend grabbing the book and deep diving into Deanna's chapter because it is so good. But she explains human design this way. She says, human design is a cutting edge, practical, transformational, and empirical system that brings together science and ancient tools. It is a synthesis of quantum physics, neutrinos, which are subatomic particles that emanate mainly from the sun, traverse the planets, and imprint us with information, the Chinese I Ching, the Kabbalah tree of life, the chakra system, and cosmology. So if you're like, what's human design?
Now you know.
Yeah, that is a brief, succinct paragraph of this incredible system. I was just sitting on the couch the other night with Joe. I'd pulled out my human design book because he was like, yeah, what is this episode you're doing? And I was like, let me show you this incredible system that brings together like all of these different pieces. And I know in your chapter, you go in specifically to like what your type is, what your aura is, what your strategy is. Um, but I'd love to hear kind of off the cuff, like when you discovered human design,
Yeah.
what were your first like initial thoughts about it?
So I would like to say that human design found me. It just
I love
fell
it.
on my lap from the sky, literally. A friend that I met through the community I created, she said it to me. She informed me about it, and it spoke to me. But it was not like, okay, I had to go and find books. No, she gave me everything. She gave me all the
Mm,
books she had. She gave me all the information. She was like, here, on a silver platter. Here it
wow.
is, eat it. And I was, okay, I'll take a bite. So I did. I took a bite and I was like, the first thing that I found out was that I'm a manifester. And that was confirming for me more than anything. And we'll dive into all of that here in just
Hmm.
a bit. And then as the years progressed, the most important thing that human design has given me was to come back to my essence, what's me, what's not me, and most importantly, how to make decisions that are mine, decisions that are in alignment with who I really am, instead of giving that authority to somebody else. You know, how many times we ask people, what should I do? No,
Mhm.
you are your own authority. And so to me, that's one of the key pieces that human design gives us. It gives the authority back to the self.
Oh my God. I like can feel my listeners already vibing hard. Like everything you just said, I was like, oh yes, all of this. Especially because, my listeners, women considering divorce have usually lost themselves. That's one of the things I hear the most is they're like, I don't really know who I am anymore. I feel lost. I'm struggling to make decisions. I'm struggling to trust myself. A lot of having given authority outside of themselves to systems or families or partners and finding their life doesn't feel like theirs.
Mhm.
So I'm very excited to hear that that was kind of the impact for you. You are not only are you passionate about the system, but you've actually used it to
Oh yeah.
craft the life that you
Yeah.
live now.
Yeah. And to me, there's no other system that has impacted me this much. And I really consider it like an x-ray of yourself. You know, how many
Mm,
times you have to like think about going to a psychologist, right? How many sessions does it take to get to what's your vulnerability, what's you, what's not you? Through human design, you take the x-ray and you get to see right there from the get-go what's you and what's not you, the vulnerability, your
mm,
areas where you can get conditioned. So that's what I love it. It's time efficient. There's no guessing. It goes right to the core, right to the bone from the get-go.
yeah. Just from meeting you, Deanna, and you saying like the time thing, like, you love to move, like, your energy is so just impactful, and that's so important for so many people who a lot of the women I work with are, like, further along in their journey, and they're in their, 30s, 40s, 50s, waking up to, like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if this is the life I wanna live," and there is an urgency of time, of, like, I wanna make good decisions, and I wanna be able to make them now. So I'm very excited to get to have you share more about how human design does that specifically. And we had talked about, so for you guys going like, how is it like an X-ray? When you go and get your human design chart, which we will of course link Deanna's website. I believe you have a place there where they can get their chart
Yeah.
through your website. Yeah. That's where I would go. Once you get your chart, then there is like this beautiful journey of coming into understanding with all those different pieces of the X-ray. And there's lots of different parts and pieces to it, but we wanted to focus in on just 3 specific keys to that X-ray, that internal map that human design gives you. So will you take us through those 3 different keys?
Yes, absolutely. So first, let's start with what is called a type. And I want you to understand this. When I talk about a type, I'm talking about a prototype because you're not just the type, right? That person is composed of many more things, which that's why it's when I do a consultation is the synthesis of all of it. So when I talk about these types, keep in mind that it's a prototype, okay? Not a personality itself, but it's a key piece of that personality, we could say.
Mm.
So in human design, we have 5 types, okay? And one of them, let's begin with the generators. And the generators are fascinating because they are 70% of our population. Generators and manifesting generators, they make up 70% of our population, which means they run our world. Without them, we're dead. I I like to think of them like the sun.
Mm.
Without the sun, we can't live. So these are people who have life force. They have energy, regenerating energy, hence the name generator. Okay, so their energy regenerates. These are the people that can work and work and work and work, go to sleep, charge their battery, and go on again.
Yeah,
They're meant to work.
this is my best friend, Quinn. She is a manifesting generator, and our energy types are so different. This is the
Yeah,
fun too of like learning your human design and learning your friends as well.
yeah. So generators, manifesting generators. Generators, I often describe them like a tornado level 5 because they have energy. But when you have a manifesting generator, it's a tornado, but at level 10. There's extra kick to them. Okay.
Mm,
So the generator and manifesting generator, their role as a role for that type, they came here to generate. They came here to work, but not just any work, the work they love. And how do they know
mm,
that's the work they love? Well, that's where the strategy and authority come to place. But essentially, it's something that gives them satisfaction.
mm.
Satisfaction. And so generators are here to be master builders. They're creators, they're natural creators, and they came here to master something. Now, the process is we'll have to talk about it in another episode. But I want you to stay with that it's they're master creators. They came here to master their craft. And that craft is decided by their own authority. That's why they have to understand how to make decisions as themselves. And they're essentially here to respond to life, which again, we can talk about that in another episode because it's a lot.
Yeah.
Now we have the other type, which are manifestors. Now, manifestors are a minority. You and I are both manifestors,
Yep.
and they make up 8 to 10% of the population. Okay. And this type is completely different. They came here to impact. So the aura, let's go back to the generator. The aura of the generator, manifesting generator, their aura is welcoming. It attracts
Mm,
life to itself. It's magnetic. Okay. Their aura is bringing life to them so they can respond to. Okay. Now, the manifester, their aura pushes people out of the way. And imagine people that don't understand this, that they just meet somebody because the aura
mhm.
speaks before we open our mouth. Okay, so I want you to imagine a manifestor with this aura that's pushing you. You don't know. And people personalize it, right? Oh,
Mhm.
she's a bitch. Or would you just feel
Mhm.
it, right? Or he is an H, because you feel the
Mhm.
aura pushing you and you don't understand it because you don't know they're a manifestor. And the manifestor doesn't even know they're a manifestor. So what does the manifestor do? Oh, people have this reaction. They don't like me. So that manifestor either retracts, retreats, isolates, or people pleases. No, if you understand you're a manifestor, your aura is doing this. It's pushing the other out of your way naturally. Why?
Mm.
Why? Because you came here to initiate. You came here to initiate. So you need the other out of your way so you can go and initiate, to open the path so you can go and do. That's why the strategy for a manifester is that of informing.
Yep.
And the informing is like telling somebody, hey, I'm not that scary. Inform me before you do something, because the aura is saying, I'm going to bite you. But
I'm
in
gonna do
reality,
something.
the aura that's pushing the
Yeah.
other away is that it can be intimidating for people. The
Mhm.
more in their power the manifestor is, the more this aura you know,
Is
is
felt.
more present, it's felt exactly. And
Mm.
so that's why the strategy for a manifestor is to inform. So prior for them to do something, they have to just let the other know. You're not asking for permission, you're just informing them. So they
Mhm.
know, I'm not going to bite you. Just get out of my way. Everything is good. You know what I mean?
I do. And we'll talk later when we dive into like specifically talking about me. These are the pieces that were so life-changing of exactly what you're talking about, understanding like, "Oh, this is why people react this way to me." And instead of backing off, like, I get to be the one that leans in and is like, "Hey, I got you. You're safe. I'm
Yeah,
actually a friendly," like, but yes, I'm big and I'm coming through and I got things to say and things to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And with a manifestor, you just have to continue to be yourself and understand there are people who are going to be attracted to you naturally and some that are not. And that's okay. You got to be good in your own skin, though. Now you understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll talk more about the manifestor when we get to yours.
Yeah.
Let's move to the projector. The projector I call them the Teslas of the world.
Oh, I love that.
The Teslas of the world because they are the new model of the world and they were
Mhm.
completely different. There are different types of projectors, okay? And remember, here I'm talking prototype, but a projector is a non energy type. So, in comparison to the generator that has energy to go, 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 the projector doesn't, okay? So, the projector is not here to be exerting themselves physically. And this is not an absolute because there are some energetic projectors. But what I want you to understand, what I want everybody to understand is that they don't have the regenerating energy that the
Mhm.
generator does.
Mhm.
Okay. So they are not here to be doing the 9 to 5, constantly exerting energy that they don't have. No, they're here to be paid for the insight that
Mm.
they can give because the way their aura works is they penetrate the other naturally, the aura, before they even open their mouth, the aura is already communicating. Their aura penetrates the other, absorbs them. So the projector absorbs the other into their being. So they get conditioned by the other. So they know the other. They know the weaknesses of the other. They don't need to know human design. They already know the
Yeah.
other. So that's their capacity, is to be able to really recognize who the other is, the other's weakness, the other's strengths. And this is what makes them natural guides.
Oof.
Natural guides. So they're here to be paid for their insight, for their guidance.
I'm pretty sure one of my kids is a projector, and hearing you talk about it this way, even with all the books I've read, I'm like, "Oh, Deanna, I'm, like, so happy that you're here and explaining this because 'cause I'm like, this makes more sense the way you're describing it." What percentage of people are projectors?
Reflectors, 20%. 20%.
Wow.
So they're
Wow.
also a minority and they're a new model, yeah. And then we have our reflectors, which I call them the aliens of our world.
I cannot wait to, like, have people reaching out. I'm hoping all of you, when you go and get your human design done, go on Substack and post on the episode and definitely tell me. Like, I will be so fascinated to hear your different types. But yes, reflectors, the aliens.
The aliens of our world, they're only 1-2% of the population. Come on.
Wow.
I know of 3 reflectors that
And you've
are like,
done
and I've done a lot of them, and I only, but I know, but I mean, I know, like people close to me,
mm, yeah.
But yes, I've seen, of course, in my practice. But these people, I want you to think of them like they're completely open. They're completely open, and their aura is like a scanner. They're scanning. But unlike the projector takes you in and it gets conditioned by you. The reflector are just samples. You know what comes to my head is when you go through the, what's it called? To the airport and you have to go through the scan. So
Yes.
they scan
Yes.
you like that. They
And they're
scan you
like
to make sure you
seeing
don't have
what's
anything weird or just to
Mhm.
see maybe you have something different. So that's the aura of the projector. It samples you, but it doesn't take you in. So it's protective in a sense. Okay.
mm, the
And so they're
reflectors.
here to
Yeah.
really gives us impartial, practical perspective because they're getting to
Mm,
see the whole. Okay. The problem with the reflector is that they have to understand because they're so open, they're always picking up stuff. So one day they're
yes.
up, one day they're down. They're very sensitive. Okay. They're always shifting because they're open. They're completely open. So they're always picking stuff up. The key for them is not to identify with what they are picking up, with what they are scanning. It's just, okay, I'm feeling this. It's not mine, and take time to process it. Oh,
Mhm.
wow, I found something unique here, or I didn't. But this is that perspective that I'm able to give because of that great openness that I have. And of course, there's more. Okay, here I'm just giving whatever pops in my head at this moment for each of the types because it's really, it goes
Vast.
deeper.
It does. It goes so deep. I loved, this is such a gift for me too, because I've had exposure to human design, but to get to like talk to somebody who's so deeply studied in it. And I loved you explaining the types from like how, like almost like the gift or the way you're meant to move through the world. Because so many people, especially when you were talking about like the 9 to 5 jobs,
Yeah.
that was one of the hardest things was for me at least like, oh, feeling like I needed to fit into this box that I was seeing of everybody else being able to put out or work in this way. And so many of us have shame when we don't show up in that way, or maybe when we're different and we don't understand it.
Yeah.
So it's really just it when people are thinking like, well, how does this help? Knowing these types for me really helps me make more peace with how my energy moves and understanding a little bit more of how I relate to the world.
Right. And just
Yeah.
to give an example, right? The manifestor is not here for the 9 to 5.
Mhm.
You're here to work on bursts of energy that come and go. And from where? From that inner urge, which we'll talk more about it later. But the 9 to 5 is more for a generator or manifesting generator. But
Yeah.
the 9 to 5 better be of something that they enjoy. Otherwise, they
Mhm.
degenerate. And that's why if you think about generators and manifesting generators make up 70% of the world, right? That's why we see a lot of people frustrated because they're giving their precious energies to
Oh,
jobs they hate. So they
yes.
degenerate. They get to 50, 55, 60 exhausted. And I tell them, you're a generator. You're a manifesting generator. You have such energy. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Of course, because you've been for years doing a job that degenerates you.
That does not feed into that like something you love that you have purpose from.
Right? Because a
Mm.
lot of people are after the carrot, the rabbit after the carrot, instead of following their strategy and authority, which is the inner compass, the inner guidance. So for the generators and manifesting generators, which is mostly going to be the audience here, they make
Mhm.
up 70% of the population, is about following their inner guidance. The wisdom is
Mhm.
already within them. So I teach you how to access it.
Yeah. So you just shared with us so beautifully the big 5 types, which were like where some of my biggest breakthroughs came through for me. Tell us more about the authority. You've mentioned it a couple times. So describe to us now what's the authority piece about?
Authority is how you make decisions as yourself. And
Mm,
for everybody is different. Okay. Because first comes your strategy, which the strategy is the way in which you relate to life and to others in a way that honors you, which we'll see this with your example. And
yeah.
then the authority is, so you can look at the strategy as the first filter, and then the inner authority, how to make decisions as yourself. And
Mhm.
everybody's different. It corresponds to um, the different centers you have activated in your design. Um, we'll do it with an example so people can
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. I love that you're kind of laying out too. There's like these different layers, like type and then, strategy. So you're saying strategy helps you know how you're supposed to be relating to other people. Manifester is that like informing. I'm supposed to inform.
Informing,
And then the
yes.
authority is where you kind of figure out how you're supposed to be. You said like inner relating. Was
Yeah,
that
the
it?
authority is how you access your decision making, how to make
There
decisions that are correct for you.
for
That's the
you.
power right there. So you don't have to
Yeah.
depend on no guru, on nobody outside of yourself for decisions. You are your own guru.
Mhm.
The wisdom, the answer is inside you.
This is one of the things I love most about you and the way you approach human design is it's so empowering for stepping away from what so many of us drown in, which is the feeling of like, I don't know myself and I don't know how to make these decisions. And so having some direction in these, I'm like, yes, yes.
But how
So one of the
beautiful is it, right? Like you no longer have to depend on somebody else. You can be your own
Mhm.
authority. I mean, that there's nothing more empowering to me than that.
Absolutely. I think that is a huge core of what I am passionate about. And it's a huge piece of what women have to do in order to figure out if they, when they're considering divorce, if you can't trust yourself, if you can't be your own authority, it's going to be a really tough decision to make. I want you to speak to the profiles as well. So tell us a little bit about what the profiles are.
Okay, so the profile is the way in which you realize yourself as that type. Because
Mhm.
you and I were both manifestors. Great. That tells us that we're here to initiate, right? We're here to initiate, to do. We're proactive. Um, but the profile is the role in which um, you realize yourself. So there are
12
12
different
profiles.
profiles. Yeah.
Okay. And so it's a key part. It's like the role, the costume that you came here to wear
Oof.
to actualize yourself.
Yes. Yeah, you had described it when we were brainstorming this episode. You were like, it's the character or the style you're gonna play in your lifetime.
It's the costume, when we're little kids and we have to do a show, and one of them gets to dress as a dinosaur, another one as a little dog. It's the costume. It's
Yes.
the
Yeah.
role. Mhm.
Yeah. So we've given just like a brief, which this is so perfect because now if you go get your design, you're gonna see all of these pieces. It's gonna show you, it's gonna tell you what your type is. It's gonna tell you your strategy, your authority, and your profile, and you'll be able to kind of look at those and then come back to the episode and like pair them up with like, okay, which one was my costume? All the different pieces. But I'd love to just kind of scale back now that we've given them some of the meat of kind of what human design is. But tell us a little bit more around the why. Like, okay, so we have all these pieces, but when you're using them in your process of facilitating people through understanding their design, how does knowing those things cut through the noise of the world around you from what you've seen with your clients?
How does it cut through the noise? And it's more
Mhm.
than just what we talked about. I want also important to understand that, because in design, you can also see what pulls you out of alignment. So design, those pieces that we just talked about, they're keys, but there is more. For
Yeah.
example, what's you? What's consistent in you? When you say, who am I? Like, it shows you what's you in the sense of what's genetically emphasized in you, what radiates out of you naturally, and also what pulls you out of the alignment. And
Yeah.
so it makes such a difference here because you can see, and I call these monkeys, the things that pull you out of alignment. You can see, that's why I call it the X-ray, is that you can see right away what are those things that pull you out of alignment. So now we give them a name and a last name, and now you know what it is. So now it becomes your work in the day to day for you to catch yourself, because you will see these monkeys, these distortions pop. But now you know, you
Mm,
can recognize them, you can identify them. And now you can redirect. You can choose yourself over that distortion. You can
mm.
choose your alignment over the lie, over the distortion, over that monkey. And that's how you gain your power back.
Yeah. When you talked about this earlier, when we were discussing this specific piece, the distortions, it made me think so much of specifically in the work that I do, something that we do called parts work. And I love whenever I see something that is just like a different framework, but it's the same kind of work. And it's the same idea that we go through life and stuff happens to us, and we have these different parts that get created, kind of like those little monkeys that we get pulled into. And we start to think, like, this is me. And being able to learn, like, wait a second, this isn't me. This is just a part of me that maybe needs comfort or needs to be shifted or understood. And as we do that work, when people ask me, like, what has brought you into the most um connection with yourself, right? This piece of, like, how have you anchored into your inner truth? It has been that work of being able to identify the parts of myself that feel distorted, that feel have been created through trauma or other people's trauma, comforting, understanding them, and then being able to step back into, like, what is my truth instead.
Hmm.
Yeah. It's really powerful work. So I love you explaining that's kind of more through, like, that would be like the gates. Is that where that
Yeah,
work
that's through
comes
the
in?
centers, the circuitry, the gates, everything
Uh-huh.
that's red in your design is ancestral. Okay, so when you look at
Uh-huh.
your chart and you see everything that's in red, that's ancestral.
Uh,
Okay, so we also see the ancestral wounds. What's working at an unconscious level is all that is red, while what's
mhm.
black is everything that you will recognize in yourself because it's very conscious. But what's red, it's like the blind spots,
Like the unconscious.
the unconscious, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it gives you the power back so you can live your life as yourself.
Mm.
That's what it essentially does. And it
Yeah.
comes with the understanding first, with the awareness, and then shifting the perspective.
I want you to, because as I'm sitting here thinking, like, for somebody who's had no exposure to human design, I think this is the perfect moment to kind of, because they have had exposure to me. If they've been listening to this podcast for a while,
Yeah.
they know me pretty well from the podcast. So I think this is a perfect moment for us to segue into you really dropping in around more of my chart
Oh,
and
let's do
what,
it. Let's have fun.
yeah, because, and I'll share before we do that, I'll share like a little bit of my experience with my introduction to human design. I love when you said it like fell into your lap, because I realized that was similar to me. He's now one of my best friends, but at the time he was a guy that I'd met and was like going on a date with. And our first date, he's like, "Have you ever heard of human design?" We looked up my chart, and I, through understanding and like being told I was a manifester and reading about manifestors, and they were so different than how I'd been programmed in my religious conditioning, in my family. Like, I'd been taught to be very like sit back, receive, like the good girl, and a lot of like gender stereotyped conditioning for
Hmm.
me. And when I found out I was a manifestor and the words were like, you have to like follow your gut, and the informing, you got to be the one that tells other people. Um, it felt like a huge permission slip for me from the universe of like, you've done it this way. Everybody told you you need to do it this way, but here's the permission slip saying
Hmm.
otherwise.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind for everybody, I would love for you to dive into pieces of my
Your
chart and
design.
what yes, of
Let
my
me pull
design.
it out first.
While you're pulling that up too, I'll say, you
Pull it.
know,
Pull it.
Deanna, when she said earlier, an aura that pushes people away, this also was a huge thing that I had struggled with big time while growing up. Just not really understanding why it was often a lot of like girls just didn't really seem to like me, or they seemed to be kind of aggressive towards me. And as soon as I learned I was a manifester, I stepped into the role of like, oh, it's my job to like let them know it's okay. I'm not going to get you. Like, we're good. And I stopped internalizing, like you said, that there was something wrong with me. And I instead embraced, like, yeah, I'm a manifester. I got this big kick ass energy that's going to be coming up in here with my aura. And I want everybody to know, the people that I want to know to be safe. I'll let them know. The others, they can be a little edgy.
Yeah. Yeah. And this part too, for the manifestors that are listening to us, you don't have to tell anybody, hey, I'm a manifester, I'm safe. No. It's just that when you're gonna move, you're gonna do something that's gonna impact somebody close to you, you let them know. That's all that it is. That's all that it is. Because can you imagine? I want us to put this in a real life example. You're married. Let's just say you're
Okay.
married and you're a manifester and your husband is another type. And you get that inner urge, because the manifestor is here to move from an inner urge that comes out of nowhere. Okay. So the inner urge to go to the store. What the manifestor will do is they follow the inner urge. I have the inner urge to go to the store. Bye. But he didn't inform. So what happens to the husband? Where did she
He's
go?
like,
She comes
where
back.
is she?
He's going to be pissed off. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important that informing is going to affect them, because the movement of the manifester naturally rattles the other, because the manifester is perceived as an uncontrollable force. So it moves the vulnerabilities of other people. That's why the informing says, we're good. Hey, husband, I'm going to go to the store. I'll be back in a minute. Now he knows. Now he can breathe. Oh, okay. It's all good. So when you come back, a mad husband is not waiting for you anymore. You know what I mean? He's not going to be mad. It changes the dynamic significantly when it comes to relationships and everything, really.
Especially with my kids too. I've realized like just giving them a heads up, because I tend to like, this was the plan and now I'm not feeling the plan anymore. And yeah, I've taken a lot more responsibility because they talk about too that most manifestors, because we move in that way, we often get programmed, or we're afraid to tell people because we're afraid they'll tell us, no, you can't do that. So we're just like, well, I'll just do it and then they'll have to deal with it. And it's really relearning, like, no, I have my own, especially once you're an adult, like I have the safety, I can do what I want. So I am going to let people know in advance. And you're right. If they're like, no, not really, it's kind of like,
Yeah.
at least in
You
my
stay,
life.
this is important for the manifestors. You stay faithful to your inner urge, not to the response of the other, because you lose your power otherwise. You stay faithful to your inner urge, because remember, the power of the manifestor is in initiating. From where? From that inner urge. Okay. So you stay faithful to that. The response of the other is not your business. That's how you lose your power. Because remember, you came here to initiate.
Yeah.
You're already letting them know, husband, I'm going to the store. Okay, husband knows.
Yeah. This is, if you guys are wondering what has made me so fiery and made me like into diving into my work in the way I did and creating the podcast and creating the community, I attribute most of it to the permission that I gave myself through being like, I'm a fucking manifester. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Go and initiate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you look at my chart, what
Yeah.
are some of the things, if you're looking at like if we go back to those first pieces, so we know type for me is a manifester. My
And that's the key.
authority.
That's the key. Like, because I can tell you anything and everything. And I know people like more information. But if you don't have your type like rooted and understood deeply, we're not going anywhere, because we're always going to come back to this key. How you are meant to move in the world. For you, the power is in initiating. From where? From that inner urge, not from the head. It's the inner urge. It's like the inner explosion, the inner spark that comes out of nowhere, and it turns into this idea and moves you to go, moves you to initiate, moves you to act. Well, okay, so that's part one for the manifestor. Now comes, the authority. Okay, do I initiate on this or not? So you are emotional. That means,
Yep.
You give yourself time because emotions distort. So, yes, I see that I have an inner urge to do this something, but I'm emotional. And if this something is something important, and what is important, something that is going to cost me resources, time, energy, then because I'm emotional, I'm going to give myself time. I'm going to sleep on it. The greater the decision, the more time I give myself, and I don't let anybody pressure me.
Mm.
And in that time, I'm seeing if that inner urge for that thing continues to pulse. If it does, great. Hey, if it's for me to initiate, it will continue to be there a week from now. So give yourself time. Emotions distort. It is really important to see through that, to
Yeah,
gain that emotional clarity.
and I love you sharing that around the strategy, right? Because other people listening, you may not be a manifester, but you may have emotional authority in a different type, and it's the
Yes,
same thing. It's
you need to
letting
wait.
Yep, let the emotional wave come in and let it kind of breathe and process through and see if it sticks around. This has been huge for me because as a manifester who didn't really understand that piece, I did a lot in the beginning of like, urge, do it, urge, do it, urge, do it. And it got me into some pickles.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I've learned now, like, sometimes the excitement I feel in the moment, I need to let it kind of percolate. And there are definitely moments where I'm like, and that emotional wave has passed and we are not doing that.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And like you said, there are other types. I mean, 50% of the population are going to be emotional authority.
Mm.
So giving ourselves that time is crucial. It's crucial.
Yeah.
Now, so let's say your inner urge sustain, let's say for 2 weeks. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and freaking do it. I'm gonna do it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna initiate on this. This is where the informing comes into place. This is where the strategy comes into place. Before I take action on this decision, right? That I already
Yes.
know it's for me to initiate, I'm gonna let husband know.
Mhm.
Husband, I'm going on a trip with the girls.
Yes, I am.
And so now he knows, and that trip, of course, is not going to be until next month. You also have to give him time. It's
Yes.
not like
This is the
you announce it
informing.
to them 30 minutes before you leave. No.
You cannot you cannot take your manifestor stuff and then walk around and be like, "I'm a manifestor. I get to do what I want when I want. Everybody just F off." Like, you have to
You have to
we are not
inform.
using exactly, we're not using human design to just run
Yeah. And
rampant.
also the informing helps you see, how the people around, because the people that are going to be impacted by your
Mhm.
decision, these are
Yeah.
the people that you need to inform. And this is also why it's crucial for partners of manifestors. If you love a manifestor, the best thing you can give them is freedom. Freedom to initiate. The freer they feel, the best of themselves they will give. It's like you're giving them the food for their soul. Freedom.
Mhm. This is absolute
And
truth for
because
me.
the energy, the aura of the manifestor pushes the other out of the way, they also are felt like uncontrollable. So people, try to control them. So release that. You don't need to control them. That's how they were born to be. Give them freedom.
I tell
Trust
you,
them.
my ex-husband could have really used Deanna, he could have really used that insight if somebody had told him what she needs is freedom and do not try to control and shut her down. Do not try to manage her. There would have been a lot of things resolved because that was
I want to
key.
add something here. A lot of my
Mm,
clients who I see, the relationship, okay, clients, this is what they will say to me. It's like, I wish I would have known this. I wouldn't have gotten divorced.
mm,
Because once you know your monkeys, your distortions, then you take responsibility for them.
mm.
Now you see that I have work to do on myself. It's all about me. It really has nothing to do with the other. The other was just pushing buttons. You know what I mean? For me to become aware of them. So it's interesting for me to hear that from people as well. I mean, there are others, who divorce. Yeah, go ahead. But some people like do say that. I wish I
Yeah,
would have
well,
known this. I wouldn't have gotten divorced.
and I think there's a lot. I mean, that is the crux of the considering divorce process is that you really have to know yourself to make that decision. And I think a lot of the women in my community are doing that work in different formats, which is why I'm so excited to bring them this tool, because I think this is an incredible tool for, like you said, getting like a different perspective and this like x-ray view. But I hear so many stories of people who get divorced thinking that's going to fix things. And then, kind of like you're saying, they get divorced and then they're still left with themselves. Um, I'm going to share this because it was big. We had a woman in the community share. She was like getting ready to sell her house. She is getting divorced. And her realtor comes to her and is like, "Oh my gosh, I just have to tell you, it was the worst decision I ever made. I'm so sad. I wish I wouldn't have done it." And then she's like, "Well, you know, you could talk to your husband. You could get back together." And she's like, "Oh, no, I don't like him at all. He's an awful person." And I was like, "Oh, this is such an example of when we think, I'm going to get divorced and it's magically going to be great without doing that personal work." And then years later, she's looking back with nostalgia at like, "Oh, I should have stayed with him." While at the same time saying, like, he's not my person, like, it just humans, right? Our
Yeah.
brains can be so intense and complicated. So it's beautiful to have something that can kind of point a direction, right?
It's the
Like that direction.
responsibility. It's the responsibility is back to the self because you break up your divorce, you're repeating the same pattern that you didn't look at in that previous marriage. You're gonna
Yeah,
continue repeating it. So
there's a lot of
it's
work that has to
opportunity
still
to
go with
to
it.
look within, to look at you and know better. For me, no better system. No better
Mhm.
system that can tell you, what's not you. What are your monkeys? What are your distortions right from the get-go? And what's you? What's your beauty? What's your potential here?
Yes. Yes. And that permission slip to like move in the ways you are meant to move.
Yes.
So I want to talk, you mentioned, and we kind of have briefly touched on this idea of like getting conditioned. Like I guess the heart of human design is this idea that like what you came down as, the way you have been created is perfect in its own beautiful way. Like it has its own beautiful design. But then we go through life and we get like skewed away from that design through
Yeah.
conditioning. Is that
Conditioning.
accurate?
Yeah, I mean, conditioning is a part of life. I don't see conditioning as bad because
Mm,
it's a part of life. It's part of our evolving process. We're always getting conditioned, even by the energy. The neutrinos are always conditioning us. Um, our culture, society, family, it's all conditioning, but it serves as the material for us to grow as well. The key is
mm.
becoming aware of what the conditioning is so you're no longer acting from it.
Yes.
So you're no
Okay, so
longer that that's all that it is,
I
because
love
conditioning is
that
always gonna be there.
delineation of like you're going to go through life, you're going to get conditioned. I would also consider like conditioning like the roots that we have in the way I would talk about it in my work would be more like the traumas that we go through and the experiences we have. Like it's part of being a human. But the key is learning what that conditioning is
Mhm.
so that you're not just spinning your wheels and wondering like why is life not getting better or changing or being more aligned. So I'm realizing as we're talking about conditioning, is that what you were saying with distortions? Are distortions related to conditioning?
Yes, distortions are certainly connected to conditioning. And in design, it's beautiful because you can see in that x ray of yours where you are prone to get conditioning from other people, from the environment. So you get to see
Mm,
right away where you're vulnerable from the conditioning of the outside. So it's
wow.
beautiful.
Yeah.
So it's key in understanding what that is and reframing the mindset around it.
Would you say specifically knowing where you're vulnerable, it makes me think of how you were saying, like, you identified the distortions by name. So it's really, I'm realizing it's just a lot of like awareness. The more
Awareness, yeah.
awareness.
But for me, the key is identify it. You have to clearly
Yep.
identify what it is. Otherwise, we're not moving. We're not going anywhere.
Hmm.
Nothing is going to change if you can't. I give it a name and a last name. I give that distortion a name and a last name. Now you know. Now you know. So now you can catch it and you can choose. You can make a choice. And this is day to day work.
Yeah. It's really cool for me to have you describing it through the process of human design. If somebody were to ask me, like, what is the work of self growth? What is the work of evolution? How does it look? I'm realizing like human design almost gives you like the roadmap with like, here are the pieces to watch out for. Here are the areas where you're going to be vulnerable. Here's the areas that may have come in from your ancestry.
Yeah.
Is
Well,
so is that
that's my approach. That's my methodology. That's
yeah.
how I like to approach it. It's because I can gas you up all day long, but where's that going to lead you if you don't know what misaligns you? So what misaligns you is the monkey, the distortion, the shadow. We could say that's where I like to concentrate. So now the power is
Yes.
in you because you now can clearly identify. We identify what that is, and now you get to make the choice: me or the monkey. Who's running the show
Mhm.
here? The distortion or my alignment?
Yeah. This is making me think so much of my just I'm just creating all these connections for my listeners of this makes me think of CPTSD and when we're in emotional flashbacks. Emotional flashbacks are like that. It's like the monkey takes over. Now the monkey is driving the car, but you think it's you and it's being able to identify, whoa, wait a second. I have lost, like, I'm not actually driving this car. A different part of me or this monkey has taken over the wheel and is driving me to places I don't actually, as an adult, want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Like conflict with my partner, yelling at my kids, all those pieces that come out that at times we feel like, whoa, what is this? So you're telling me human design can kind of point you to those sections.
Can kind of know it will point you directly to those right
I'm
to those
saying kind
sections.
of because you're
Very
blowing my
precisely,
mind.
very precisely, very precisely. Yeah, it will. That's why
Wow.
I created my own approach to it in this way because that's the most practical way and what works. For me, in my life, for my clients, it's been very practical and I'm very simple, very to the point, very manifestor, very to the bone. And you got to know what misaligns you.
I have to say,
That's the
I'm
key.
just like so delighted that you are the person that I brought on around human design because I have had human design readings in the past, but they were not like this. So I'm so glad you're explaining, like, this is your methodology. This is
Yeah.
your approach. Because I think a lot of the readings I had in the past were like, oh, it's helpful to know these things, but it almost felt like having a whole bunch of information like dumped on a table for me and then being like, okay, cool. Like, here's all these things I know about myself, but I don't know how they fit together, or I don't know which one to prioritize or how to like
Mm-hmm.
use what's just been kind of put out on the table.
Yeah. So that's why I like to do diagnostics in my practice. You bring me your problem, I get to the root and I get to the solution.
Ooh, that sounds like my 90-minute. Yes, Deanna. I was like,
Great.
yes, this this kind
Yeah.
of work.
And of course, part of it too is you learn. I mean, we get to the root, the solution through your design
Mhm.
and through a intimate conversation, obviously. But I also teach you how to access your inner guidance. I also
Mm.
teach you the way in which you realize yourself. So we look at everything, but the diagnostics part is crucial as well.
Yeah. I also loved because it is on my wish list, like, and especially after this episode, Deanna, I'm like, I am going to have to work with you for sure. But when I was first looking at your offerings, I loved that you kind of space out your sessions, right? It's like an initial one and then it's kind of like a follow-up, like
Yeah, in 3 sessions for individuals, because the first session, I want to listen to you and I want to inform you. I want to inform you how to access your inner wisdom, how to make decisions that are for you, what pulls you out of alignment. You learn all about your monkeys and what's you, your potential. You learn all of that in the first session. The second
mhm.
session, okay, if you're shy about bringing me a problem, we're in the second session. I don't think you're going to be shy. We're going to dive deeper and we're going to, in the conversation, we're going to see, you see, because the monkeys are really sneaky, very sneaky. And so as we talk and we look through what you're going through, you'll get to see those monkeys so clearly, so clearly. And then everything, the next session is for rooting and more for you to have practical understanding on how to access your inner wisdom. We bring it all down to earth, to the practical.
Yeah.
So it's a process. It's a process, but of 3 sessions for me. Mhm.
I love it. I think that's just I've never seen anybody do it like that, and thinking back on what I was experiencing previously, I'm like, I think this is brilliant, which I know you know. I don't have to tell you, Deanna.
Well, but I can't cover everything in one either. There is so
Yeah,
much. You know what I mean? So, and of course, if you want more, then we can continue on. But I target the main issue that's making noise in your life right now as well.
yeah.
And we move from there.
One of the things I know you said you are very passionate about, it felt like at least,
Mhm.
was how knowing your children's designs
Oh,
can be really life-changing.
it's the best.
Tell us
It's
about
the
that.
best. And we all know that the 7 first years of a child's life are crucial, is the nucleus. So, understanding your child, who your child truly is, gives you such an immense opportunity to begin to raise them according to their nature. Also,
Mhm.
understand what their vulnerabilities are, where they're open to get conditioned from the outside, also good to know. Um, just learning, for example, that your kid is a manifester. Okay, now
Yeah.
you know. You don't control that child. Give them freedom. They don't need to be stimulated to play. They have their own initiative. Don't try to
Mm.
control them. Give them the space. So those to empower their nature. Otherwise, if you don't, you control the manifester, you restrict them, you're gonna have a submissive kid or a very rebellious kid.
Mhm.
So and of course there's much more than that, but it really gives the parent the opportunity to empower the child, not
Yeah.
to mold them into who the parent thinks the child should be, but really empower that child from the inside out. Trust them, trust their
Mm.
natural development,
Yeah.
and knowing the vulnerabilities is really important so they don't turn into distortions later on.
Ugh. You
Yeah.
speaking about this because I recently have just been, talking with my partner about how difficult it is often to like understand your kids or to have insight into them. Sometimes like I found when I'm really stuck on a problem with my kids, like I have to pull tarot cards to kind of help me think outside of the box of like what I normally think of them. Cuz sometimes I'm just wrong and sometimes the cards point out things where I'm like, "Oh, I am really like it's almost like I'm seeing them through my distortions."
Yeah.
You know, I'm seeing them
Exactly.
through my
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's what I at the beginning, I was also saying, how important the role of the parent here is, how it begins with the parent understanding who they are so they're not projecting onto their kid.
Yes.
Because I want you to imagine this, a manifesting generator who has a lot of energy, who has a kid that's a projector who has no energy. And they're demanding this kid to go, go, go when the kid is not naturally designed to go, go, go. They may
Mm,
look at the kid like he's lazy, when in reality, the kid is not lazy. He doesn't have natural energy. He needs time alone. He needs time to recharge. He needs to take naps.
yeah, this what you're describing here too is this like the amount of trauma that we experience in childhood because our parents don't know what we need and they're just coming from their own perspectives of what they need and how they view the world. And they're
Yeah,
like, I'm going to impart to you what worked for me without understanding maybe my kid moves in a totally different way.
exactly, exactly.
Mm, mm,
Understanding what your child needs. Um, so you can the vulnerabilities for me is really important because it prevents, like, when you can be aware of what those vulnerabilities are in your child, then you can begin to work with them and give them the tools so they strengthen those vulnerabilities so they don't turn into distortions. And the younger they are, the better. And I love working with kids one-on-one too because they're super smart and
mm.
they get recognized, and I talk to them like adults because they're so smart and they get it. They get it. I'm always impressed by them, how smart they are, how
That's
they get it, how they giving me examples, and wow. And
that
my
is
main
so
focus
neat.
and my main focus with them is empowerment. And I also tell them about their monkeys. I also tell them about their monkeys. And so now they're aware, so they can continue to be who they are, but now they know they're monkeys and they're not going to listen to the monkey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Deanna, we went into this like with our outline and I am I'm now just like so expanded around human design. I love that I had just that little seed of like knowing like this made some big changes for me, but what you are talking about is just such a like depth and breadth to this work. It's really, really beautiful. And I can see how much it's meant to you. Like this work really seems to be deeply, deeply purposeful and meaningful for you,
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. It is because, like I said, I started majoring in psychology when I
Mm.
was younger, but it was too institutionalized for me. And so when
Mm.
I found this, and a lot of my clients are therapists too, you know what I mean? Because there is no, in my opinion, I mean, the universe speaks in so many languages, but there's not a tool that's so practical in this way that you can just get the x-ray and see what's you, what's not you, how
Mm.
you're meant to move. So for me,
I
it's
did.
it's the precision of it
Mm.
and the accuracy of it, the precision. And we said at the beginning, as I put in the book, it's an empirical tool. You don't have to believe in this. You see it in the experience itself.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved that you drove home in the book, where you're like, you don't have to have like faith in this. This is not a, a religion. Like, I'm going to give you this
Apply it.
information
Apply it.
and you're
And
going
you
to apply it and you're going to see how it works. And if it
Mhm.
works, you're going to know. You get to test
Yep.
it and you get to see.
Yep. Exactly. That's what it is. It's an experiment. It's in the experience.
Yes. Yes. Well, I am so just blown away and excited, beyond excited. I was already excited to get to have you come into the community, but I am even more excited that we will get to have you interacting with my women there, taking them through some different parts of their design. We've got some really fun things that we had talked about, specifically around their different types. So I'm very excited for them to get to experience you firsthand. But I'd love for you to talk and just share what are ways that people can work with you. I know you talked about you work with individuals, the three different pieces that you have when you work with an individual. Do you
Yeah.
have courses? Like, tell us more.
Yeah, so as you all know, guys, I'm a manifester. So the curses come when the inner urge hits me. I give all my energy and then I'm done. And then the next inner urge moves me. I had the urge to do a class on reclaiming your voice. And so that's going to be coming out in July. And then I have another class coming up on healthy selfishness. And that
Oh
will
my
be
God.
in August. Um,
Ah,
and
I love both of these. I'm vibing because I'm like, if I had to pick, a couple topics that I would be like, these would be really applicable to my women, both of those would be so applicable to the women that listen to my podcast. So I'm just like, yes, these urges were synchronistically aligned.
I love it. I love it. And so the other offers that I have are for children. I work with a parent so they can know their child, how to communicate with their child according to their
Mhm,
natural design. Any issues, any dilemmas that the parent sees with the child, they
mm,
bring it. I do the diagnostics. I also work with the child directly. That's an option as well, and always with a parent. Always with a parent as well. I do relationships as well. If you are currently in a relationship and you want to understand, I always begin with you. So even if it's a relationship, first I focus on you. You got to know you, and then we focus on the relationship and also for couples, um, and for business leaders, for a
mm.
small company.
Yeah, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Ah,
Oh, and
see,
cycles is another session that I offer. Because all of us go through specific cycles, like
mhm.
lessons throughout our life. From 30 to about 42, we're in a cycle. 42 to 50, we're in another cycle. 50 to 60, another cycle. So we look at what the cycles are bringing you so you can cooperate with them.
I'm like, yes, yes, yes. All of those, Deanna, all of those. Oh, this was really, really magical. Thank you for bringing your brilliance, your love for human design, for sharing so many just I've never heard human design shared in a way that like stuck with me so much. Like I just keep thinking like projectors are Teslas and
Teslas.
reflectors are aliens. Like just and the monkey, it's just you have so many
And
beautiful ways of yeah, tell me.
manifestors don't bite, okay? They may feel like they're gonna bite you, but they don't bite. Manifestors are actually very sensitive inside.
See, I'm like every time you talk about them, I'm like, I everybody on the podcast is probably like, this is true. This is true. For those of you that are wanting to join with Deanna in the community, you can do that super easy by texting Stay or Go Community to 33777. I will be staying up on my interviews this week to try and get, those of you that might normally I take a week to get my interviews done, but I want as many of you as possible to get to spend time with Deanna and the rest of the women in the community if that's something that's really speaking to you. I hope many of you will go check her out at her website, portal.com. We'll have it linked in the show notes. So it'll be super easy to access because I don't know about you guys, but I am very excited to work with Deanna. And especially, on this episode, I got a ton of manifestor content. But for everybody else who does your chart and is like, wait, I'm a generator or I'm a projector or a manifesting generator or a reflector, what about me? Can't recommend enough getting to reach out and work with her. Thank you, Deanna, for your time. Can't
Thank
wait to
you.
spend time with you in the community.
Oh, yay. See you on the 24th. Thank you, Brita. This has been fun.
Yay. Till next week, y'all.
Ciao.